Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mayor, for being here, and you and your team.
Thank you.
You had mentioned that you have about 46,000 folks in your care, but you have 180,000 that you moved out. I'm assuming that those folks, with your contractor, DocGo NYC, many of those folks were moved upstate, including Western New York, where I am. We found out at the end of last year, at the end of 2024, that DocGo was canceling their contracts with Western New York organizations, not-for-profits like Jewish Family Services and Journey's End. And we were told that those families will be then moved back down to New York City, but there's been no confirmation. Can you speak to if those migrant families are being moved back to New York City?
A combination of, there was a substantial number of people who moved up state. They found their way. You have a beautiful place that people want to stay. They figured that New York City is not the only place to be, and we're receiving a smaller number of people who are coming back down to the city. Those who do, they don't come back into our care. They find a way. We do intense training. We give them information on how to survive in the city, in the state, and many people have found their ways.
But the funding is ending, so those folks are basically on their own. So you have 180,000 people that were sent largely upstate that are now fending for themselves, essentially, which is very troubling. So I'll ask you the same question I asked you last year at this event, at this hearing. Do you think it's time to end New York City's sanctuary policy? Last year, the answer was no, it's who we are. So after seeing the chaos and the expense and now the pain that has been spread throughout New York State, you think it's time to end sanctuary policies?
Okay, so first, that large number, 180,000, did not go upstate. Okay. A small number went upstate.
Okay,
Okay.
we still have them, again, without funding that was promised. So again, don't you think it's time for us to shut off that spigot and stop this humanitarian crisis, as you called it, from landing in New York State?
Yeah, first we need to secure our borders. I've stated this over and over again, and we need to remove those who are committing violent acts in our city, in our country. And I think people need to be clear on what the sanctuary city law is, because sometimes people conflate it.
The sanctuary city law is we will make sure that people who have committed crimes are not deported, and that they're not handed over to ICE. That's essentially what I think most New Yorkers understand. That's the concern that I have. And I realize that the landscape has changed, and now we have the border being secured, which I think will reduce that flow. But ultimately, we still have a lot of people that are here. I was told of roughly 68,000 with criminal records here in New York State. We have to address that.
And the sanctuary city law, Senator, is not what you just described. The sanctuary city law is exactly what one of your colleagues, I think John Lewis, just talked about. If you are here paying your taxes, living your life here, based on those taxes you pay, you have a right to go to school.